Yo, what's up? Today I'm going to show you everything you need to know about how to become a proper combat engineer in Enlisted. First, I'll go quickly over the basics and then jump straight into the advanced stuff like building traps, building fortifications, interesting structures that give you lots of engineer assists and experience, and also tactics to completely turn games around. First, how can you build things the fastest way possible? In addition to the green fast building perk that you should have on every single engineer, having an additional engineer in your squad helps with that too, because now you can place a structure, click X on a structure, and every additional engineer in your squad is gonna help you finish this. You can even run away and start building a second structure while your team is gonna do the work together with you. So this is by far the best way to get things done quickly. Second trick you need to know is how to rotate structures, because if you're having if you have a sandbag like this, if the enemies are coming from there, this is a good position. But what if I'm hiding here and I expect enemies coming from the left and I want some defense? In that case, I want to rotate it, and I do it by clicking R, and then congratulations, now you have a well placed sandbag, and it's perfectly facing the enemies and already protecting you from enemy bullets. So rotating and building quickly, two basic skills you absolutely need for your engineers. Next, when running around with your engineer, make sure that you switch your ready structure, which is usually the ready point, to sandbag, because this way, if you encounter some enemies, you can quickly switch to the hammer and instantly start building the sandbag, and now you have protection, and you can also use it for mounting, and you're ready to fight. Next, if you want to defend your soldiers within a building and make sure that they don't die from grenades and HE shells, you want to build zigzagging sandbags. What is that? Well, you could theoretically build all sandbags in a line and then have a nice line of protection against enemy shells and explosions, but you can't really go past that line without jumping over it, slowing you down and making you easier to hit. So instead of doing this straight line, you want to displace these sandbags and zigzag the whole structure, because now you have still protection across this one line dimension, but you can go through this sandbag array without being slowed down. If you don't have any mines or grenades to blow up an enemy tank as an engineer, you can trap him with anti-tank blockers. Start behind the tank first so he doesn't see what you're up to and doesn't drive away, because most tanks will start driving backwards. Here I could start in the front because he's already trapped by the building, and now he can't do anything else. He can't drive sideways, he can't drive forward or backwards. And then usually after understanding their fate, enemy tankers will leave the tank, but this gives you still enough time to build an anti-tank gun and successfully blow the tank up. This is how you defend and fortify objectives. First of all, you want to make sure that you face the right direction, which is the red arrow, so you know where the enemies are coming from. Now you know, alright, we can expect most of the enemies coming from this direction, with a little bit to the left and a little bit to the right. Now you want to locate the main entrances, which are usually big doors and big windows. Now, here's what you want to do. Everything you can turn into a trap, you want to turn it into a trap. So every window gets barbed wired. And doors, you could also barbed wire, but if the door gets opened, the enemies instantly see the trap. For that reason, you want to build a sandbag in front of the door and then build the barbed wire in front of it. And now, congratulations, everything is properly barbed wired. If you have some time, you want to place an extra row of barbed wires. So even if the enemies destroy the first row, that won't help them because they still get stuck. And you get even more experience because more people will get stuck for a longer time. After doing that, you want to place an inside skeleton of sandbags that protects you from shells, especially grenades and HE shells. You can do this by basically covering the barbed wire, because this way not only are you building the structure to protect your defenders inside the point, which you can also do, by the way, by building them high on objects, but you're also making it even harder for the enemies who are stuck in the barbed wire to escape. Because if they're in this barbed wire now, they can't just instantly leave it. No, they still have to climb over it, giving you around 1 second more that the enemies are taking damage. You want to do this, of course, with every single room. And here rotating helps us a lot, because as you can see, many angles aren't too beneficial from the way they're placed. And congratulations, now you have a perfectly fortified objective. Keep in mind you can build stuff through walls. Not every structure, but you can build barbed wire and sandbags through walls, making it very useful to give an extra trap or to give you defense even outside of the building that you can build from the inside. Now one last thing is, if you have multiple rooms, make sure that these are also protected. For example, you can place a sandbag like this, and now if your teammates are approaching towards your objective, the enemies can't shoot them that easily because they have this protective layer. Usually you want to double this up, of course in a zigzag way as we learned before, because now you have all the protection without any problems in terms of moving around. Of course the same principle we want for this room. We want to have this extra protective layer, but we don't want to block us, the defenders, from coming in. So that's why we place it in a displaced way. Never do the mistake of completely blocking rooms by placing the sandbag exactly within the door frame, because this way your defenders and your teammates cannot get in. And you see, this tank is shelling me, and wow, he destroyed the sandbag, which is the proof that this sandbag saved our life, because that sandbag absorbed lots of damage. Now that you know how to create watertight defenses, here's how you create defenses that aren't as strong, but that will give you more experience. And the trick is, you want to place barbed wires, yes, but you still want to let your enemies have some room. For example, if I place a barbed wire like this, some enemies will try to squeeze themselves in between this gap. And yes, you can run through it, but all the bots of the soldier who runs through this area are gonna touch the barbed wire, giving you lots of experience. And now, time for the traps. There are multiple ways you can build traps, combining engineer structures and mines, especially anti-tank mines. Now the simplest trap is dropping any type of grenade. Here we can drop a normal anti-personnel grenade. It's already perfectly hidden due to the surface that we used, but you can make it even better. You can, for example, build a sandbag here, and now if the enemies jump over this, they're gonna jump straight into grenade, into the mine. To incentivize them doing so, we can even place a bunch of barbed wires here. And now the enemies are basically 100% sure to jump over this sandbag into our mine, because they don't want to run all of this way around the barbed wire. This is one way. Another way is, if we don't have the sandbag for whatever reason, we can place a barbed wire straight over the mine. And now it's even better hidden than it was before. And if someone wants to destroy this barbed wire, he will, yeah, but he won't expect the mine underneath, as basically no one is building traps like these. And this is how you build advanced traps. First, if you have a nice road where you expect enemies to drive over with their tanks or APC, drop it into a tank mine and then cover it with something. There are multiple ways to do so. Some structures are worse, some are better. Obviously tank blockers are the worst, because no tank will drive over the mine. Sandbags could be good, though some tankers will actually drive around the sandbag, thinking that it's still useful for the teammates in case they get shotted by enemies. So that's not too good. Ammo boxes could be nice, but many tankers like to shoot them from far away to get experience, so that's also not too good. So the by far best structure to hide mines is barbed wire, because basically all enemy tankers will be incentivized to drive over it, knowing that either infantry teammates will get stuck or the tanker destroys the barbed wire. Obviously destroying it for the sake of teammates is great. And you can incentivize the tank even further to drive over this specific spot by dropping some tank blockers on the sides. And now the tank has absolutely no reason to drive on this area, but drive on the other. Make sure though you don't make it too obvious, If you, for example, place the tank blocker here and then also 2 here, it becomes extremely obvious that someone wanted you to drive exactly over the center line. Yeah, so don't make it too obvious. It's fine to block one part of the road and then have the other part be barbed wired, which also looks quite natural, like a basic anti-infantry defense line. And then you just drop a bunch of mines. They don't even need to be perfectly underneath, though obviously being perfectly underneath the barbed wire is better regarding being hidden. So yeah, though even though we dropped it afterwards, it's still not too obvious for the tank. For example, this won't be spotted, and the mine here, yeah, looks like a stone, so you see, very nice position. And now the strongest out of all traps, the mine on top of something. Here's an important principle. If you build a structure, let's say a sandbag barbed wire, and you drop a mine on top of it, the mine will get triggered if it falls down. Now, in order to make it fall down, you can destroy the barbed wire and trigger the mine. So this is the principle of the anti-tank mine trap that you want to use. Now, how do you use it? First of all, you want to identify spots where this is beneficial. You can use all your knowledge about fortifying objectives that you acquired for that. Optimally, you want to build this trap in areas where the enemies don't see the mine that well. For example, if the enemies are attacking from that room, we're gonna build our standard sandbag and then a barbed wire. And then make sure you build 2 rows or even 3, so enemies aren't focusing on the first row, so they're not constantly looking on the first row of barbed wires, but so you look further away. For example, if the enemies are coming now here, they see, oh damn, lots of barbed wires. Yeah, they can theoretically see this map. Of course, they will not get the white indicator. All they see is a dark, shadowy area, and they want to quickly jump over it. Especially if they shoot at someone, they will aim like this, and then they don't see the mine too. And now they jump down, and they will see, oh damn, I'm stuck here. Let's destroy this. Now the most logical thing to destroy is obviously not the one in the center, but the first. So most people will react exactly like this. They will try to destroy the barbed wire and trigger the oh. If they're lucky, they will accidentally destroy the sandbag, which of course doesn't help them that much. They still have to destroy this barbed wire. So they will destroy the barbed wire. And congratulations, they trigger your mine and they're dead. Now, not everyone knows about this trick. So many players will do it even despite seeing the mine. And for the end, the 2 most reliable ways to build this trap with a mine on top of something. First, on top of your own rallies. Because here's how it works. What you usually want to do is you want to build a rally like this, hidden tightly between 2 sandbags. And if an enemy sees them, basically every enemy will want to kill this rally ASAP. So what you want to do is you want to drop a mine on top of it, and you can see every enemy that runs around here, if he comes from here, he will suspect some rally. Well, he will hear the rally pinging too. So he will either jump on it, instantly shoot it. In that case, the rally explodes, the mine drops down, and the big explosion kills the dude. And also you get a notification from an anti-tank mine kill. If you only get 1 anti-tank mine kill, you will know, oh, it wasn't a tank that got killed, it was some random infanterist. Same thing if he comes from here. But even if the enemy comes from this area here, theoretically perfectly seeing what's going on, he doesn't see the mine. Because the mine is the same color as the rally point. So even in that case, he will likely shoot the rally. And let's say he spots the mine from here, which he spots the rally from here, which is quite far away. If he shoots the rally now, that distance isn't enough to save him, and you still get a kill. And now, the 2 nastiest ways to use the mines on something trick. First, everyone's favorite classic, putting a basic anti-personnel mine on top of an enemy rally. Extremely effective because the enemy squad that's spawning will trigger it, causing an explosion that destroys the rally, and the whole or most of the enemy squad that spawned. Very strong and absolutely safe. Now there's a more elaborate version of that trick, and it's by placing barbed wires around the rally. First you will get lots of engineer assists from that, also slowing down the enemies significantly, because whereas the mine trick completely destroys the enemy squad, this one slows it down. And an enemy team or an enemy player that's somewhere on the map but can't do anything is better than a dead enemy that can spawn again quickly and do something. So this is in itself quite strong, but you can combine this with anti-tank mines. And this is where it becomes very deadly, because now you basically have the best of both worlds. You have the slowing down effect, and you also have the killing effect, because the enemy spawns, yep, he's getting stuck. If it's a bot, the bot will likely not destroy the barbed wire. He will just try to run out and escape. In that case, you will constantly get the advantage. If it's a real player, if it's a low attention span zoomer, he will also not destroy the barbed wire, but try to run out as quickly as possible without investing time to blow up the barbed wires. And if it's a player who actually destroys the barbed wire, he will trigger one of the mines and lose his whole squad. Alright, that's it. Drop in the comments what you think about combat engineering and what your favorite ways are to use engineers and what your favorite traps are. And add some more to the ones I already showed. And of course, like the video and share it with all enlisted players you know, also other players, because engineering is one of the best aspects that Enlisted has above other games. So that might convince them to try out the game. And of course, subscribe if you're new to the channel to not miss out on the next videos. Until soon, goodbye.